The full list of secret dinosaurs and projects which were kept in Jurassic Park and Jurassic World has never been released to the public. And the same goes for the upcoming Jurassic World movie, but through extensive research, theorizing and looking at all the evidence, I have got them answers. Because some of the dinosaurs and creatures featured on this list will have evidence to back it up and potentially will blow your mind. So hold on to your butts, grab yourself a GAMERSUPS because this is gonna get wild. Now immediately I'd like to talk about the TITANOBOA. And you might be thinking, well, where was that featured in Jurassic Park or Jurassic World? And believe you me, there is evidence to even suggest it's upcoming in the new Jurassic World movie. And I will get onto that in just a second because I'd like to talk about the plesiosaurus, believe it or not, being in Jurassic World and upcoming in the new movie. Now you might be thinking you've never seen that in Jurassic Park, let alone Jurassic World. Well, I can assure you it was actually there. Take a look at this. This is a holoscape featured in Jurassic World. And on this holoscape, it features several dinosaurs that were not promoted or even on display, but still resided in there. And one of them being the plesiosaurus. How do I know this? There was various concept art suggesting it was there. We had the Northurosaurus in Camp Cretaceous Season 4, not to mention this holoscape featuring the plesiosaurus. You don't just think they kept a mosasaur, do you? Of course there'd be other aquatics. And further to this, in the upcoming Jurassic World movie, we know from various leaks it's going to feature pretty heavily lots of aquatic scenes. And the likelihood is some of these aquatic scenes are set in a river, which would be far too small for a mosasaurus, but just big enough for a small plesiosaur. And as I just mentioned, there are definitely scenes featuring rivers, which would mean smaller aquatic animals, right? And one of them animals, which has been featured in Jurassic World, and we know was present in Jurassic World, was the Dinosaurus. Now, we also know TITANOBOA could be in rivers, but I'll get onto that in just 1 second. Because again, you might be thinking, where did we see a giant crocodile in Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, let alone it being on display? Well, there are several pieces of evidence to suggest that a giant croc resided in Jurassic World and is featured prominently previously in Jurassic Park media. Now, it's worth pointing out that the Dinosaurus in Jurassic Park was featured in one of the arcade games, so therefore doesn't make it canon to the movies. But in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, we see a Dinosaurus skeleton in a river here. This would clearly mean that they kept a Dinosaurus in Jurassic World at some point, which would be perfect for the upcoming movie because they'd be able to traverse the rivers. And when I say rivers, I don't mean small little rivers, I mean quite wide and deep rivers, very much like the Amazon, which coincidentally this new movie is set on an island with all these Amazonian Mayan ruins. And remember that because I will play a huge part in the TITANOBOA later on. And something else that you may not realize, during the original Jurassic Park, you see our protagonist messing with an interactive CD-ROM in the Land Cruiser. And this is where John Hammond says this.
The voice you're now hearing is Richard Kiley. We spared no expense.
Now, what you may not realize is that during this CD-ROM, the narrator actually says some pretty interesting things about the park.
Currently scheduled to be opened to visitors 6 months after the main park, the marine facility will offer more revenue generation opportunities and marketing campaigns.
That right there is pretty interesting, but if you look at all the official Jurassic Park maps, you can see in every single one of them a lagoon. And not only that, several references to a marine facility. And believe it or not, that is actually canon to the Jurassic Park movie universe, meaning whatever was in this marine facility, likelihood is A, was taken to Jurassic World, B, escaped, or C, could have perished. Not to mention, John Hammond himself says this.
More adventurous guests, of course, can opt for our Jungle River cruise or for a...
None of these attractions are ready yet, of course, and then other rides will come online 6 or 12 months after that. Absolutely spectacular design, spared no expense.
That would tell me that they had aquatic animals to fill this Jungle River cruise and other attractions to be ready for 6 to 12 months after the park's operation. And I know, you're probably asking, well, what would these animals then, Shadows? Well, we've already mentioned a few of them already, especially because we've pointed out the evidence to suggest that they would have appeared in Jurassic World, or at least been held there. Now, I would like to move into the TITANOBOA and its appearance in the upcoming movie, because believe it or not, there is a real reason to suggest that it is going to appear. And it could even appear in the water of some of these rivers. Speaking of water, keep yourself hydrated, drink some more water with GAMERSUPPS, and use my code on screen now, Shadows, for 10% off your next order. It's a great way to keep hydrated, because believe you me, the TITANOBOA is definitely hydrated. And yes, there is reason to to believe it is in the upcoming Jurassic World movie. And I know you're probably thinking, well, wait, how? Where's it even been featured? Well, we know it was featured in Jurassic World Alive and Jurassic World the game. And this is where I'd like to correct some of my previous statements, because what I'd said is I don't believe it to have been in Jurassic Park or Jurassic World. There's very limited evidence, right? And that is true. In the movie universe, there isn't much evidence to support it. And then it actually hit me, and I realized something. Jurassic World Alive is still going. It's current, and it features brand new TITANOBOA species. And the artwork for these species features a jungle and, lo and behold, Mayan ruins, looking exactly like the Mayan ruins we see in the upcoming Jurassic World movie, which is rumored to be titled Jurassic World Rebirth. And further to this, it's worth pointing out that Jurassic World Alive is current. This is ongoing. This is happening now, with the Jurassic World movie happening now. There's a highly likely chance that this may be more than a coincidence here, especially with the fact that this will introduce a new species into Jurassic World, one which could easily traverse these rivers in this arid environment and add to the suspense and even the dark and unknown. I mean, personally, I would probably prefer this over the return of the Spinosaurus, which leads me on to something else about the new movie. I theorized this in a few videos ago that the chances are a Spinosaurus could also be making a return, but that's just simply based on us seeing a boat rocking back and forth and the director saying, "Here he comes," obviously referencing the animal in the water. Now that could easily be any animal he's referencing right there. And further to this, because it's a large military vessel, it would have to be a pretty big animal to rock it back and forth like that, which would obviously mean that wouldn't be the TITANOBOA. It wouldn't be that big to create them types of waves to affect a vessel of that size. But what we do know is from some leaked scenes and scent photographs that there are smaller Amazonian rivers, which would definitely feature a TITANOBOA. The climate looks right, and it looks very akin to, believe it or not, the Anaconda movies. And before we go any further, I'd like to acknowledge the fact that this is a Jurassic movie, and a giant snake, to some people's tastes, may not fit that theme. And to that, well, I'd actually say, well, in Camp Cretaceous Season 4, they brought in a saber-toothed tiger, or as it's called, a smilodon. So you could argue that they've already done this before and seem to work quite well. They even brought in woolly mammoths, believe it or not. So they're no stranger to adding in all these different animals, which brings on even more speculation about the old failed hybrids, which we know was a thing in Dr. Wu's lab in Jurassic World. They even displayed the Stegoceratops and was planned to encounter this in one of the valleys in Jurassic World, but was ultimately cut. And with this new island, realistically, anything is possible. Who knows, they may even be keeping Alan Grant on this island somewhere. But the real reason these animals may show up in the new Jurassic World movie is based on the evidence we've provided. Deinosuchus was definitely out there, a Plesiosaurus is definitely out there, and the TITANOBOA, well, believe it or not, it's gone from having no evidence at all to me deep diving, looking into Jurassic World Alive, and matching the fact that these Amazonian ruins are looking exactly like the ones we see in this movie. The scene fits, the climate fits, the animal fits. But the real question we have to ask is, do you want to see these animals in the new Jurassic World movie? And if not, what animals do you want to see? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this, I highly recommend checking out my other videos, such as what was really in the restricted section in Jurassic World. I'd also like to take this time to thank my YouTube members, a special thank you to DVM Wannabe 1018, and welcoming our new member, I Lost Paradise. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. You keep the power on in the park. And if you came across a TITANOBOA in Jurassic Park, could your day get any worse? You bet Jurassic can. Catch you later.